Hello friends, welcome to the world of project management and for a overview session on project risk management process, that is planned risk responses. Motto of this training is to share my experience in preparing for PMP certification and have prepared few slides. Let's quickly move to our agenda for this session that we are going to discuss on what is planned risk responses and its ITTOs in more detail, that is the inputs, tools and techniques and outputs. Let me explain. It is a fifth process in the project risk management knowledge area, and it is defined as the planned risk responses is the process of developing the options, selecting the strategies, and agreeing on actions to address the overall project risk exposure as well as to treat individual project risk. This definition is per the PMBOK guide. Hope it is very clear. And the key benefit of this process is that it identifies the appropriate ways to address the overall project risk and individual project risk. Hope you understand this statement. Hope you understood about its definition and key benefits. Let's quickly move to its ITTOs, that is inputs, tools and techniques. In inputs we have the project management plan, which contains the resource management plan, risk management plan and the cost baseline. And coming to the next input, we have the project documents, which consisting of the lessons learned register, project schedule, project team assignments, resource calendars, risk register, risk report, and stakeholder register. And also we have in inputs enterprise environmental factors and organizational process asides, that is EFs and OPS. And in tools and techniques, we have the expert judgment, data gathering technique, which consisting of the interviews, interpersonal and team skills, which consisting of facilitation. We have strategies for threats, strategies for opportunities, contingent response strategies, strategies for overall project risk, and we have data analysis technique, which consisting of the alternative analysis, cost benefit analysis. And also we have the decision making analysis technique, which consisting of multi-criteria decision analysis technique. And in outputs, we have change request, project management plan updates, which consisting of the schedule management plan, cost management plan, quality management plan, resource management plan, procurement management plan, scope baseline, schedule baseline, and the cost baseline. And we have in the outputs project document updates, which consisting of the assumption log, cost forecast, lessons learned register, project schedule, project team assignments, risk report, and risk register. Okay, fine. Let's discuss these inputs first in more detail. In inputs, first we have the project management plan, which consisting of the resource management plan, risk management plan, and the cost baseline. Let me explain one by one. First with resource management plan. The resource management plan is used to help determine how the resources allocated to agreed upon risk responses will be coordinated with the other project resources. Hope you understood this. Moving to the risk management plan. Risk management roles and responsibilities and risk thresholds are used in this process. Coming to cost baseline. The cost baseline has information on the contingency fund that is allocated to respond to risk. Hope you understood about this first input. Let's move to the next input. We have project documents, which consisting of lessons learned register, project schedule, project team assignments, resource calendars, risk registered, risk report, and stakeholder register. Let me explain one by one. First with lessons learned register. Lessons learned about effective risk responses used in earlier phases of the project are reviewed to determine if similar responses might be useful during the remainder of the project. Moving to the next, project schedule. The schedule here is used to determine how agreed upon risk responses will be scheduled alongside the other project activities. Moving to the project team assignments. In this, the project team assignments can show the resources that can be allocated to agreed upon risk responses. Moving to the resource calendars. The resource calendars identified when potential resources are available to be allocated to agreed upon risk responses. Coming to the risk register. The risk register contains details of individual project risk that have been identified and prioritized and for which risk responses are required. Moving to the risk report. The risk report presents the current level of overall risk exposure of the project that will inform selection of the risk response strategy. And moving to the last, stakeholder register. The stakeholder registered here identifies potential owners for the risk responses. Hope you understood all of this. Let's move to the next input, the enterprise environmental factors. It contains the risk appetite and the thresholds of key stakeholders. Hope you understood this. Moving to the organizational processes sides. In the OPS, we may have the templates for the risk management plan, risk registered, and risk report. And also we can have the historical database can be used and the lessons learned repositories from the similar projects. Okay, fine. Hope you understood about all the inputs of the plan risk responses. Let's move to its tools and techniques. In tools and techniques, as I said, first we have the expert judgment. In this, the expertise should be considered from the individual or groups with specialized knowledge in few areas, such as the threat response strategies, opportunity response strategies, contingent response strategies, and overall project risk response strategies. Hope you understand all these areas and hope you understood about this first technique of the planned risk responses. Let's move to the next technique. We have data gathering technique, which consisting of interviews. In this, the development of responses to the individual project risk and overall project risk may be undertaken during structured or semi-structured interviews with risk owners. Hope you understood about this technique. Moving to the next technique, we have interpersonal and team skills, which consisting of facilitation. The main use of facilitation here, it improves the effectiveness of developing the responses to the individual project risk and overall project risk. Hope you understood about this technique. Let's move to the next technique. We have strategies for threats. We have 5 alternative strategies may be considered for dealing with the threats. We have escalate, avoid, transfer, mitigate, and accept. Let me explain one by one. First with escalate. And this appropriate when the threat is outside of project scope. Moving to second one, avoid. In this, changing the project management plan to eliminate the threat entirely. That is completely avoiding. Moving to transfer. In this, the risk transfer requires shifting some or all of the negative impacts of a threat along with the ownership of the response to a third party. That is transferring to a third party. Mitigate. In this, the risk mitigation involves reducing the probability or impact of an adverse risk event to acceptable threshold limits. Mitigating it simply. Moving to the last, accepting. This strategy is adopted when it is not possible to eliminate a threat from the project. Hope you understood about this technique, that is strategies for threats. Let's move to the next technique, strategies for opportunities. In this also, we have 5 alternative strategies may be considered for dealing with opportunities. That are escalate, exploit, share, enhance, and accept. Let me explain one by one. First with escalate. Here, the appropriate when the opportunity is outside of project scope. Second, exploit. The strategy may be selected for risk with positive impacts where the organization wishes to ensure that the opportunity is realized. Third is share. In this, sharing a positive risk involves allocating some or all of the ownership of the opportunity to a third party. Sharing with a third party, it means. Next, enhancing. In this, it is used to increase the probability or the positive impacts of an opportunity. Enhancing the things. Last, accepting. In this, accepting an opportunity is being willing to take advantage of it should it transpire but not actively pursuing it. Hope you understood the strategies for opportunities technique. Let's move to the next technique. We have contingent response strategies. In these, risk responses identified using this technique are often called contingency plans or fallback plans, and that includes identified triggering events that set the plans in effect. Hope you understood about this technique also. Let's move to the next technique. We have strategies for overall project risk, that is combined of opportunities and threats. Let me explain. In this, the risk responses should be planned and implemented not only for individual project risk but also to address overall project risk. And the same risk response strategies that are used to deal with individual project risk can also be applied to overall project risk. We have 5 alternative strategies may be considered here for dealing with this overall project risk, that is avoid, exploit, transfer or share, mitigate or enhance, and accept. Let me explain one by one. First, with avoiding. In this, to be selected when overall project risk is significantly negative and outside the agreed upon risk thresholds of project. Exploiting. This to be selected when overall project risk is significantly positive and outside the agreed upon risk thresholds for the project. Third is transfer or share. In this, the third party may be involved to manage the risk on behalf of the organization. Fourth, mitigate or enhance. In this, the strategies involves changing the levels of overall project risk to optimize the chances of achieving the project objectives. Last is accepting. In this, to be selected where no proactive risk response strategy is possible to address the overall project risk. Hope you understood about this technique, the strategy for overall project risk. Let's move to the next technique. We have data analysis technique, which consisting of alternative analysis, cost benefit analysis. Let me explain one by one. First, with alternative analysis. A simple comparison of the characteristics and requirements of alternative risk response options can lead to a decision on which response is the most appropriate. Hope you understood this. What is alternative analysis? Moving to the cost benefit analysis. If the impact of an individual project risk can be quantified in monetary terms, then the cost effectiveness of the alternative risk response strategies can be determined using this cost benefit analysis. Hope you understood about these two techniques of the plan risk responses. Let's move to the next technique, decision making analysis, which consisting of multi-criteria decision analysis. Let me explain what is multi-criteria decision analysis. Mainly, it uses a decision matrix to provide a systematic approach for establishing the key decision criteria and evaluating and ranking the alternatives and selecting a preferred option. And this criteria may include cost of response, likely effectiveness of response in changing the probability or impact, or it may include the resource availability, timing constraints such as the urgency, proximity, or dormancy, or it includes the level of impact if the risk occurs, and effect of response on related risk, and may it include the introduction of secondary risk. Hope you understood this multi-criteria decision analysis. This completes all the tools and techniques of the plan risk responses. Let's move to its outputs. In outputs, first we have the change request. As I said in my previous sessions, for any change in the project has to be go through a PICC process, that is perform integrated change control process. Hope you are cleared with this change request concept. Let's move to the next output. We have project management plan updates, which consisting of the schedule management plan, cost management plan, quality management plan, resource management plan, procurement management plan, scope baseline, schedule baseline, and the cost baseline. Let me explain one by one. First, with schedule management plan. In this output, the changes to the schedule management plan, such as changes to the resource loading and leveling, or updates to the schedule strategies, are incorporated. Moving to the cost management plan. In this output, changes to the cost management plan, such as changes to cost accounting, tracking and reporting, as well as updates to the budget strategy and how the contingency reserves are consumed, are incorporated. Moving to the quality management plan. In this, the changes to the quality management plan, such as changes to approaches for meeting requirements, quality management approaches, or quality control processes are incorporated. Moving to the resource management plan. In this, the changes to the resource management plan, such as changes to the resource allocation, as well as updates to the resource strategy are incorporated. Moving to the procurement management plan. In this, the changes to the procurement management plan, such as alterations in the make or buy decisions or contract types, are all incorporated. Moving to the scope baseline. In this, the changes to the scope baseline are incorporated in response to the approved changes in the scope that may arise from agreed upon risk responses. Hope you understood this. Moving to the schedule baseline. In this, the changes in the schedule baseline are incorporated in response to approved changes in the schedule estimates that may arise from agreed upon risk responses. Hope you understood this. And moving to the last one, cost baseline. In this, the changes in the cost baseline are incorporated in response to the approved changes in cost estimates that may arise from agreed upon risk responses. Hope you understood all these outputs. Moving to the next output, we have project document updates, which consisting of the assumption log, cost forecast, lessons learned registered, project schedule, project team assignments, risk registered, and risk report. Let me explain one by one. First, with assumption log. During the planned risk responses process, new assumptions may be made, new constraints may be identified, and existing assumptions or constraints may be revisited and changed. So all this new information is updated in the assumption log. Hope you understood this. Moving to cost forecast. Cost forecast may be changed as a result of the planned risk responses. Moving to lessons learned registered. The lessons learned registered is updated with information about the risk responses that may be useful for future phases of the project or future projects. Moving to project schedule. In this output, activities relating to agreed upon risk responses may be added to the project schedule. Moving to the project team assignments. In this, once the responses are confirmed, the necessary resources should be allocated to each action associated with a risk response plans. Moving to risk registered. In this, the risk registered is updated when appropriate risk responses are chosen and agreed upon. Coming to risk report. In this, the risk report may be updated to present the agreed upon responses to the current overall project risk exposure and high priority risk together with the expected changes that may be expected as a result of implementing these responses. Hope you understood this risk report also. We have covered all the outputs of the planned risk responses also. So here we have completed all the ITTOs, inputs, tools and techniques and outputs. So this completes our 5th session on the project risk management knowledge area, and hope this session also is easy and understandable. Fine. Let's discuss more detail on the next process in the project risk management, that is implement risk responses. That is in the next video. Kindly provide your feedback on the given email ID and please subscribe my channel if you like this video. Bye for now. It's your Anil Kumar Dharam.